she's wearing that dress. I won't know what to say. That's not okay. I need to know. Tell me, is this love? 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 So far out.
There we go. Welcome to Carter's Corner Daily. I'm your host, Travis Carter. Welcome. I forgot to turn the lights on. Welcome to this very, very cold 3rd of June. It is absolutely freezing today. So I'm kind of cheating. I'm still in my trackies because it's too cold. There we go. That's better. So, bit of an interesting day yesterday. Been trying to, so for the long-term listeners, and before we get into that, because it's so cold, I've got my Christmas cup out. Christmas in July, next month. Been trying to sort out to pay my fine for the parking ticket. And I've tried to get in contact with the fines enforcement in WA, and I'm getting the message saying that their business hours is between 8 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday, and then everything hangs up. So kind of impossible to pay fines out at the moment. So that's kind of frustrating. But anyway, it just shows government organisations extremely poorly managed yet again. So we had a very big day yesterday. Lots of press releases. A lot of them were pretty much nothing. I went through and read all the rest of them, the rest of them that I missed, and there was just like nothing there. There's a couple more, so I'll go into these today. And we've had one press release today from the Disability Services Minister, Don Punch. So we'll get into that one later as well. But before we do that, I just wanted to address a bit of an elephant in the room. So obviously a lot of the people that listen to me are pro my body, my choice. If I take the vaccine, it's my decision, it's not yours. Go get nicked sort of thing. Very, very anti-mandatory vaccinations, which I can support. It is your body. Like, there's a big push, especially on the feminist side of things, that if a woman wants to get an abortion, it's her body, her choice. So same with vaccines. It's your body, your choice. And then you hear the people arguing, but if you're not vaccinated, but I'm vaccinated, I'm still going to get sick. Well, that's kind of a stupid argument. Like, anyway, so my stance is it's your body, your family, you make the decision. The government shouldn't be able to force you into vaccinating. So anyway, so the issue I want to raise is I'm seeing a heap of people, and I'm talking so many posts out there, and they're quoting random figures like, one person died in Australia of COVID-19, 210 died of the vaccine, and I've looked, I've searched, I've tried to find the facts and the figures and all this sort of stuff. I know people have died from the vaccine. I know there's been complications to it. 210 in Australia, I'm not sure. I'd like to see the actual where they're getting the stats from. So this is a bit of a message to people out there who's trying to make sure people do the your body, your choice. It's imperative. If you want to present an argument, you need to make sure your facts are right. If you continue to share false information, you just don't look like a fool and a twat, and it's not going to help. If anything, it's actually going to hinder the cause. So please make sure you keep the facts correct. Double check your figures. If you see something on Facebook, do your own fact checking. Don't listen to Facebook, because it's Facebook. It's full of shit. Let's be honest here, it's full of shit. So do your own research, educate yourself, work out the figures yourself, actually pull up the proper stats and share those stats. Don't be sitting there sharing, that's a funny meme and it supports our cause, so we'll just share it even though it's fake news. So don't be the left, be truthful. Okay, so I just want to quickly get that one out of the way. Wow, phone call, forgot to put it on silent. It's one of my Patreons, so I am going to send him a message. Just bear with me for a moment. On stream. Sorry about that, ladies and gents. Anyway, so getting into the press releases, hopefully he'll jump into the stream and will send us a message. All right, so the first one from yesterday that we didn't finish off was a press release from... it's actually from two people. So we are looking at... Oh, that's not supposed to be there. Why is that there? Definitely not meant to be there. That one is what's supposed to be. Oh, that's kind of funny. Hopefully no one sees that one. Anyway, so just a little something I'm working on. The Patreons know about it. I guess everyone else knows about it now as well. So what it is, end of the road for offensive and demeaning slogans on vehicles. So pretty much this is from the Honourable Rita Saffioti, MLA, Minister for Transport, and the Honourable Simone McGurk, MLA, Minister for Women's Interests. So, Mark McGowan government to introduce legislation to ban a set of offensive slogans on vehicles. Legislation will allow vehicle licensing to be cancelled or refused if slogans are not removed. Follows introduction of similar legislation in Queensland, Tasmania, South Australia, and now ACT. More than 70 complaints upheld by Ad Standards Australia against wicked campers since 2008. So this is just stupid. Like, we don't live in North Korea. Like, this is just bad. Like, if Wicked Campers wants to put those things on their cars, that's fine. If people want to express what they believe by hiring a Wicked Campers camper truck, great, go for it. Who's the government to say that they can and can't put anything on that? Like, obviously, if there's like if they're dropping the F-bomb or the C-bomb on the campers, yes, take that off. That's just tacky. But if it's just normal, catchy little slogans, stuff like that, that's up to them. You don't like it, well, don't hire them. It's as simple as that. The McGowan government will introduce legislation to ban offensive, sexist and demeaning slogans from vehicles on WA roads. The proposed changes to the Road Traffic Vehicles Act 2012 will allow vehicle licences to be cancelled or refused if vehicles display offensive material. Now, the biggest problem here is they're saying offensive materials. So that could be, I don't know, maybe a Labor sticker, a One Nation sticker supporting a political party. That could be something, I think it's called Stutzi. Their logo is a silhouette of a lady. They say it's a lady in a bikini, but I'm pretty sure she's naked. And she's sitting there, sitting down with her hands behind herself with the knees bent. You can't see anything, it's a silhouette. It's not offensive, and if you find things like that offensive, you really need to go out country somewhere and go to a country town and then find out what's offensive. So let's keep going. Similar legislation has been introduced across other states, including Queensland, Tasmania, New South Wales, and the Australian Capital Territory. People find the Australian Capital Territory offensive. Does that mean if you're a vehicle in the Australian Capital Territory, you're not allowed to be licensed anymore? Since 2008, more than 70 complaints against wicked campers have been upheld by Ad Standards Australia. I'm wondering if all those complaints came from Karens. The Transport Minister Office and Women's Interest Minister Office have both received numerous letters asking for wicked campers and their offensive slogans to be banned. It's just stupid. Cabinet has approved the legislation to be drafted, and this will be introduced in Parliament later this year. So this is just another of those things where it's a blatant attack on the Aussie culture. And I'm not saying this is on the Aussie culture because we're rough, we're blunt, we love pulling the mickey out of each other. We rip into each other as much as we rip into our mates or our enemies. A lot of these slogans on the wicked camper trailers, they're just catchy slogans. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. And this will pass. This is not something that will go up for debate. This is not something that's going to be questioned and argued and be sent to the lower house to be redrafted and put back up to the upper house. They'll go, right, all right, offensive slogans will now be banned and your registration will be cancelled. Bang. They won't define what is offensive, what things have to be offensive, stuff like that. And it will just get rushed through because, again, Labor have 80% lower house, 80% upper house. There's no opposition. There's no one that can call this into account. There's no one out there who can block these sort of things. So it's stupid. Here we go. Comments from Rita Safiotti. It's the end of the road for these tired, outdated, sexist and demeaning slogans on our vehicles. So I just want to have a comment here. Sexist. So sexist is a term for when you discriminate against someone purely because of their sex. Okay, for example, let's say Wicked Camper Vans or Camper Trailers, whatever it is, turns around and said, no, you're not allowed to hire my car because you're a woman. That is sexist. Having a slogan on there saying, oh God, what can I say on here without getting banned? Men are better than women. Okay, that's not a quote or anything. It's just an example of perceived sexism. Stating that men are better than women is not sexism. Stating that women are better than men is not sexism. It's just stating and personal belief. So if I was to turn around and say, right, I own a business, I have 20 employees, 4 of them are women, so therefore I am no longer going to hire men, that is sexist against men because I'm discriminating against men purely because they are male. Okay, so that's an example of sexism. So saying something is tired, yeah, but it's not against the law. Outdated, yeah, not against the law. Demeaning slogans, yeah, again, they're not against the law. If you're discriminating against someone for something sexist, then yes, that is definitely against the law, and there's already laws against it. So this is just another law, another nanny state thing. It's not needed. I have driven behind these sort of vehicles with my young children in the car, and I have no words to describe to them what these horrible slogans mean. While we haven't seen many of these vehicles on the road lately, we are drafting legislation that will allow us to cancel or refuse licenses for vehicles with these sort of slogans and images. Yeah. So the problem is they're saying the word offence, so they're not defining it. So if they say something is offensive, so if I take offence to something, let's say, okay, here, perfect example. Let's pretend I've got a Ford and I see a Holden with a Holden badge on it. I find that badge offensive. Does that mean that that car now gets his registration cancelled because I find the Holden badge offensive, even though it comes from the factory that way? This is the sort of stupid policies that Labor's going to start pushing. Everyone deserves to feel safe on our roads, and I hope this new legislation will provide people with peace of mind. Now, let's just say you find someone with a logo on their car that you don't like. Back off 5 kilometres, let the car get away, and then continue on your day. Simple. Commitment from the Women's Interest Minister, Simon McGurk. I wonder if I can get away with saying McJerk. The slogans that we see on spray-painted vans across Western Australia needlessly promote sexism, violence against women, and discrimination. Oh, that is a big claim. They are highly visible and send the wrong message about appropriate attitudes towards women and others. This legislation will force vehicle owners who display offensive slogans to clean up their act and steer the conversation in a direction that is more in line with current community standards. So it's okay to discriminate against men, but it's not okay to discriminate against women. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to pull up Wicked Campers. Let's go have a look at some of these offensive slogans. Here we go. I think I found one. Let's see if I can pull this up. I want... What app is that? That's... inch. There we go. Beautiful. And we do that. Here we go. The perfect woman. She's loyal, obedient, faithful. Like a rattlesnake. Has handlebars on her hips and has an on-off switch. Can kickstart. What? Kickstart. There's some really, really bad things. Oh, okay. There's a heap that we're missing here. To place. I'm guessing you have flat head to place your drinks on. It gives a tongue rather. Okay. There's a few things here that I really, 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 really don't want to say because I will get banned. But you can read it for yourself. Okay? So, saying that a woman should have a flat patch on her head to hold a drink, like this is satire. So what the government's doing is they're turning around and they're banning satire. So the question is then, if we take this a step further, who's that really unfunny comedian that's on Netflix, chicks that's always ripping into men? Does that mean that we have to now start banning her sense of humour because it's a satire against men? Does this mean that we now have to start banning people such as Clementine Ford for her comments, which claims is satire, for her comments against men? Now, let's also talk about the West Australians, Rangi Harini, the journalist who apparently did a satirical opinion piece in the West Australian saying how steak is a cause of toxic masculinity, and that she was threatening to kick her husband out if he didn't become a vegan. That was just a joke, a parody, a satire of a comment. So do we have to start banning all those sort of people as well? So when you start legislating satire, against humour, things like that, personally, I have a sneaky suspicion that the next thing that's going to go is stand-up comedy is going to start having problems. People like Isaac Butterfield will probably start getting targeted purely because he is Isaac Butterfield and some of his comments he makes are probably not the best. But you know what? Who cares? It's satire, it's funny, it's supposed to be slightly offensive. If you don't like it, then don't listen. Turn it off. Again, if you see a car with a slogan you don't like, just back off. Let him go about doing these things or overtake him so you can't see him. There's better ways to do it than legislating it. It's stupid. All right, moving on. The Honourable Alana McTiernan, MLC Minister for Agriculture and Food. So this one might be interesting. WA set to modernise animal welfare laws. Independent review into WA Animal Welfare Act released with McGowan government supporting most recommendations. McGowan government has modernised WA animal welfare laws to deliver better care for animals. Independent Animal Welfare Advisory Committee to be established. Like, don't get me wrong. Animal welfare is very, very important. But I find this sort of stuff is just pandering to the left. But then again, I shouldn't be surprised considering it's a Labor government. My first concern when I read this summary at the top, will we have people like Extinction Rebellion who want to destroy the economy purely for the environment as a part of the advisory committee on this? Will we have those groups that go to farms and steal animals? Will we have people from those sort of groups on this advisory board? Will they be getting, having people from farmers' unions being a part of this to give the other side of the spectrum for advice? I highly doubt it. The Labor government's already shown how biased they can be on some of these advisory panels that are extremely expensive and probably not very efficient. But let's get into it. I could be wrong. The McGowan government will modernise the state's animal welfare laws following a comprehensive review of the Animal Welfare Act 2002. Today, the state government released its response to the independent review led by Western Australians barrister and regulatory law specialist Linda Black, and will embark on 5 key areas of reform to ensure the welfare of animals. Now, I really want to know, because I've seen it up close and personal with the way they do halal slaughter. I wonder if they're going to start removing religious what's what I'm looking for, concessions into these things, and just treat every animal the same, whether it's being slaughtered in an abattoir for religious ceremonies or whatever it is. Will they act humanely across the board regardless of the religion involved? Okay, the 18-month review included extensive industry and public consultation, and has provided a series of recommendations to improve the animal welfare regulatory system in WA. The McGowan government will modernise the Animal Welfare Act to better protect and promote the welfare of animals. This will include being clear on standards of care expected for animals, strengthening compliance, delivering legislation and policies that are science-based and reflect community expectations. Now, that's a really big one. They can actually monitor the brainwaves of an animal as it's going into death. So whether it's through halal slaughter, fully stunned slaughter, or however they're doing it, bullet to the head, they can actually tell you exactly what the animal is feeling at the time of its execution. And the amount of stress during a halal slaughter that they've been able to record is way higher because the animal is fully aware and conscious of what's going on. So things like a fully stunned animal does not understand. There's not much brain activity until it actually dies. Other key areas of focus will include the training of inspectors and ensuring open and effective administrations that clearly outline the roles and responsibility of those responsible for animal welfare under the Act. There will be consultation with key stakeholders as legislation is drafted and implement the recommendations. A draft bill will be open for comment prior to introduction to Parliament. An independent Animal Welfare Advisory Committee will also be established to advise the government on the development of animal welfare laws, policies and standards. A copy of the report is available here. Okay, comments from Alana McTiernan. At the election, we committed to delivering a modern Animal Welfare Act to promote animal welfare, and we're getting on with the job. Now, it's really funny because I was actually quite interested in the election, the to and froing, a lot of the comments that were made backwards and forwards. I have to say, Zach Kirkup was just non-existent. Anything Labor said, he supported. There was no purpose in voting for anyone else. And as we can see, Liberal have totally screwed up WA for the next 4 years. I did not hear a single thing about reforming the Animal Welfare Act in any of those press conferences that I watched. Going back to the puppy farming things from yesterday, I did not hear a single thing from Labor about puppy farming. I heard a lot from One Nation about puppy farming, but nothing from the Labor government. So I find it funny that they're saying that this was an election commitment. Yeah. Anyway, questionable, but we'll leave it at that. Western Australians care about the treatment of animals, and the McGowan government now has a valuable opportunity to bring the state's animal welfare legislation in line with community expectations. The RSPCA does a really good job of that. Modernising our animal welfare laws will help to maintain public confidence in the livestock sector and in the state's reputation for high ethical standards in the treatment of animals. So they're talking about livestock here. So this is more targeting. Oh, God, that sounds weird. This legislation seems to be targeted on how farmers treat their animals. So I'm wondering if this is just another attack on our regional people who live in the regional areas who try and make a living off the land. The review's recommendations will also allow serious maltreatment of companion animals to attract tougher penalties. As an owner of a rescued dog, my dog Ben, gorgeous, original name was Bear, but my daughter changed the name because she didn't know how to spell bear. It's tough. The moment there's a loud noise or anything, he pees himself. Awesome dog, really, really smart. Love him to pieces. He's a great dog. But yeah, it's tough. Like, we've had him for over a year now, and he's still got these little weird things that he does purely because of the way he was treated. He continues to eat cardboard. We can't stop him because he was locked in a house for 7 days. All he had to eat for 7 days was cardboard. And I still have to sit down on a door frame for him to come in and out of the house because he's scared of doors. I think someone tries to slam him in a door. I thank Linda Black and the committee for the committee and the community for the work they have done to drive change and improve animal welfare in this state. So I'm a big advocate for treating animals correctly. I can't stand halal slaughter just because it's so cruel and inhumane. I really hope this takes that into account. I highly doubt it will, but it is what it is. So anyway, Tiernan, yeah, you're doing an okay job. Keep on going, girl. You're doing well. All right, so let's have a look at the next one, and this will be the final one from yesterday. Let's get rid of you. I have to say, Rita Safiotti has been putting out a lot of press releases lately. Yeah, so hopefully that indicates that she's putting some hard work in, but we'll see. So the Minister for Planning, medium density policy proceeds to next stage of development. So this is probably around housing. Now, for those who are long-time listeners to Carter's Corner when they were on 89.7 before we were, in my opinion, illegally sacked, but we'll leave that to the ACMA to make that ruling. We did call out with the Honourable Charles Smith, who was actively campaigning to prevent the increased higher density property development in the north of the city. So it'll be interesting to see now that he's out of Parliament. I wonder if they're going to try and ram this through. So let's have a look here. More than 220 public submissions showing strong support for draft medium density policy. Design excellence and housing diversity at centre of future residential development. So this is definitely sounding like it. Review, assessment and further consultation to inform final policy. Build on McGowan's government planning reforms to cut red tape and support local jobs. That sounds very interesting. Let's find out what she's talking about. The state government will review feedback and test proposals received from more than 220 submissions to guide medium density development. Earlier this year, industry groups, local governments and community members shared their views online and thought a series of workshops on the draft medium density policy. I'd love to know what this is. Submissions indicated broad support of opinion to improve design quality in residential development up to 4 stories that will increase housing diversity and choice. Proposals for increased outdoor living areas and development of greater density and the retention of tree canopies across our suburbs were also generally supported. Requests were also received for additional consultations on key policy provisions and changes to the proposed implementation of transition timeline. In response, the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage will undertake a detailed review and analysis of all submissions received, refine and test policy settings, engage key stakeholders and continue feasibility testing over the next 12 months. So the good news is they're not cramming it through, they're just doing more testing. We are targeting the finalisation of the code the first half of next year and its implementation by the second half of next year. Considerations will also be given to recent changes to the National Construction Code that may need to apply to this policy. Yes, that's actually not a bad policy. I quite enjoy that one. The draft planning policy is the latest in the McGowan government suite of designs. WA policies to ensure design excellence is at the heart of all new developments to deliver lasting community benefits across the state. With an ageing population, greater demand for housing affordability and more diversity in housing choice, the McGowan government has prioritised finalising a new medium density policy as a key pillar of the next phase of planning. Have a look at this one. We'll just copy that one for later. She hasn't said anywhere where these developments are happening, which I'm a bit concerned about. Okay, comments from Minister Rita Safiotti. Consultation with community and industry is a pivotal part of policy development to ensure we get the settings right to deliver lasting benefits and outcomes. That's why we recently asked the community what they want to see in the future. For the planning system with our new set of reforms. I am pleased with the level of support for this fresh approach to medium density development. This promises excellent outcomes for our built environment built environment and doesn't repeat the same pattern of triplex and multi-unit density and loss of tree companies we have seen across our suburbs for the last 20 to 30 years. When you know the housing industry is under significant delivery pressure, so we will lengthen our delivery program to take this time to test proposals put forward from industry and the community to develop a policy that works for all users of the planning system. Over the coming years, this will guide the right balance of density across existing suburbs and the new MetroNet communities, bringing vibrancy, diversity, and housing and environmental benefits to future generations of Western Australia. So this is a big heap of crap. This is just nothing. Like, this is absolute, hey, look at me, I'm doing something, but I can't tell you for 12 months. That's like 2 pages of nothing. I haven't done a press release today. I better do one. That's what this appears to be for me. I'm just going to go jump over, have a look at this website. Come on, load it up. Let's have a look. Let's go pull this one down. Where are you? There it is. State government has amended the Residential Design Codes Volume 1 to guide future medium density residential development. Draft of the code, draft medium density guidelines, supporting documents. Problem is defined. Okay, here we go. Frequently asked questions. What is the new medium density residential housing code? The state government is delivering a program for reform which has been implemented through legislation, regulatory and policy changes. New planning and design policies have been developed to meet the changing needs and expectations of the community to improve the quality of our built environments. So that's just like houses and all that sort of stuff. Proposed new policy to guide delivery of medium density residential development in Western Australia has been released to public consultations. The draft policy changes. It will be in part of the Western Australia's Residential Design Code Volume 1, known as ARC Code. So that's how the density, how many people can live per square metre. It's open for public comment from the 16th of April 2021. Okay, it's good to see that was already open. Now, if we're looking for the draft, I think it's this one. Let's have a look. About this, it's a really big document. All right, let's see here. R2 to R25, group dwellings R2 to R25, R30. Okay, so medium density is R30 and above. Does it have a map of locations? Let's try. Not Hillary. Let's try map. Here we go. Climate zones for Australia. No, it hasn't got much in there. That's going to involve a lot of reading. I won't bore you guys with that one. I'll go have a look at that at a later date. But I'm like 60% sure that this is in regards to the property developments. Hillary's, Joondalup, Quinns Rock. There's a whole heap of them up north. The local community has gone, no, we don't want this development at all. The stakeholders, it's worth insane amounts of money, huge amounts of money. Just if it's the one I'm thinking about, they're also massive donors to the Labor Party. So I'm wondering if this has any ties to those property developments that the Honourable Charles Smith was trying to prevent from happening. And to date, he's actually done a really good job of it. So it'll be interesting to see. All right, so we have had a couple of more press releases come through. So we're just going to go jump into one now. So this next one is from Don Punch. Here it is. Do the zone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm not actually going to leave this up this time because I normally pull it down so it's easy for you guys to see. So when they come through, they do have this enable editing thing. I just close it because I don't want to edit it. These are not my press releases. I don't want to be accused of trying to edit anything. This is a Word document. It should be as a PDF, but anyway. Okay, so this is from Don Punch, Minister for Disability Services. It came through today. Safer car parks as eligibility criteria for ACROD program expanded. I can tell you now there's not enough parking spaces for ACROD. I am an ACROD person myself. Getting in and out of cars is really, really hard for me. So having that ability to be able to open the door fully, to be able to get out, get my walking stick out and get up and about that way really, really does help. They did the Carousel Shopping Centre. There was something like 2,500 parking bays and there was 27 ACROD bays. So it's like 0.1 of the population, which is tiny. I've never been able to get a parking out Carousel Shopping Centre with all their ACROD parking bays. It's just flat out impossible, so we don't shop there. Okay, let's go here. Program has served people with mobility needs for more than 40 years. Will include those who are legally blind and use guide dog users. That's always good. Further work to be undertaken to increase the number of ACROD parking bays. That's always a good thing. But they don't need to be like 12 meters wide. Like, come on, fair's fair. Doors wide open. That's fine. The other one I'd like to see is a couple of so if you've ever launched a boat, you'll see there'll be trailer parking bays where they can go extra long, especially for people with severe mobility issues where they've got the full electric wheelchairs. You need about 2 meters behind the car to be able to put your trailer down to get the especially with people with things like cerebral palsy, really, really bad MS who have total what's that other one? Muscle dysphoria, I think it's called, where your muscles just degrade and you've got no muscles and you can't control your hands and all that sort of stuff. They've got those really, really weighty wheelchairs and you need like a full-on high-ace fan to move them. Those things take up 2 bays. So I'd actually love to see a couple of ACROD parking bays at shopping centres where it is actually a straight through double bay, so those vans can pull up, put the tray down, and then know they're not on be putting people into traffic. The state government today announced the expansion of the ACROD parking program eligibility criteria. The review and recommendations highlights the significant barriers for people whose ability to safely navigate a car park is significantly restricted by the disability or medical condition. ACROD parking programs enable people with disability and their carers to park in designated bays that are larger in dimension and close to building and complex entrances. The program supports people to access the community. Eligibility criteria for the 40-year-old program are being expanded following the review led by the Department of Communities in collaboration with people with disabilities, the National Disability Services, NDS, which administers the program. The expanded eligibility criteria will now include those who are legally blind and people assisted by a guide dog. Why were they not in there originally? That's stupid. The review of the ACROD program announced in 2020 included consultation with people with disabilities, as well as more than 530 community organisations and government stakeholders statewide. The review found that people who were legally blind often experienced barriers when assessing the community, with the issues of safety navigating car parks consistently raised by individuals and support people, obviously because they can't see cars. The review has heightened the need for more ACROD parking bays and recommended that strategies be developed to address this issue. The next phase of the ACROD parking program will investigate options to increase the number of available ACROD parking bays in West Australia and minimise bay misuse. There's a really cool system that they do in Russia. So when you pull into one of the bays and you don't have an ACROD parking bay on it, they've got like these little projectors, they squirt some mist down and then a light show comes up. And it's got pictures of people in wheelchairs and all that sort of stuff. And they actually say in a really loud voice, by you parking here, it puts me into traffic. I need this bay. Please leave. And so the success of this program has been through the roof, phenomenal. So Google it. It's on YouTube. You can actually see it's actually a really good program. I think explaining to people that people actually genuinely need these things is not a they're not pulling the piss out of it. These bays are generally needed. More than 90,000 people currently hold a permit for designated ACROD bays, which help people connect people to the community, enable increased independence. An estimated 411,500 Western Australians live with disabilities, including more than 90,000 who hold ACROD parking permits. And in recent years, there has been concern that the ACROD eligibility criteria left out a number of people needing assistance navigating car parks. In response, the McGowan government commissioned a review that took the view of more than 530 stakeholders into account and highlighted concerns about safety in navigating car parks and the availability of designated parking bays. I am pleased to announce we are able to expand the eligibility criteria so that more people have better access across the community. The state's government will also look at increasing the number of parking bays with establishing a ministerial roundtable with industry stakeholders and intensive consultation with local government authorities. Now, another thing I'd like to see is, because especially as an ACROD, you can't always park in one of the ACROD parking bays. Like, there's just not enough. So what happens a lot of the times is you've got to park away, you've got to park in a paid parking area, and on top of that, because of your mobility issues, most people, they'll park, they'll get up, go into the shops, do what they need to do, come back, and they're done in 20, 30 minutes, $4 or $5 parking, whatever, doesn't matter. Especially with people with parking mobility problems, especially when I was in a wheelchair, just getting from the front door to the back of the car, getting the wheelchair out, getting myself into the wheelchair, and then locking the car, generally took anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how much space I had. I was in a wheelchair for nearly 2 years because of the problems with my spine. So straight away, instead of being a 5-minute in and out sort of job, you're still in the car park 5 minutes later. And then you got the time getting to the shops, doing your shopping, which is slow as well because you've got your mobility issues. And then by the time, so what a normal person can probably punch out in about 20 minutes, it takes well over an hour. To go buy bread and milk when you've got a wheelchair, you're looking at least half an hour to 40 minutes. So, and if you look at that on a cost of parking side of things, massively more expensive. So I'd love to see, with as part of your ACROD parking systems, I'd love to see a lot of the state governments turn around and say, you know what, you don't need to pay park, you've got an ACROD. And that's something that I personally would love to see. I think that would help a lot. The other thing as well, if you have a look at the disability pension versus JobKeepers, New Start allowances and all that sort of stuff, the amount that you get is very, very roughly the same. Now, yes, your medications are, I think it's like $6.20 or $6.50 now, but I don't know anyone who's on an ACROD parking permit who isn't on 4 or 5 different medications. So that's an extra $20, $30 a week extra that other people don't have to pay. So having assistance in not paying for parking when you go to places would be a huge, huge help for retirees, ACROD parking people with disabilities, things like that would be a massive help. So I think there's a lot better ways to do this. I think this is a great step in the right direction, but you're missing a lot. There's a lot here that still needs to be reformed and looked into. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that one. I have to admit, with Don Punch, his press releases are generally about things that are half important. I'm going to give him a 6 for this one. He's done all right. All right, let's have a look here. And this is the final one because I've got to get the kids from school soon. We want this one, that one, this one, and boom. Okay, Bill Johnston, MLA, so that's a lower house member of parliament, Minister for Energy. Oh, here we go. So funding got made available for Seroja a while ago. So let's have a look here. Funding and new power solutions for Cyclone Seroja recovery. $1,000 grants available for customers disconnected from the grid since April 12. So that's coming out for 8 weeks. I think he's out 7 weeks at the moment. You still haven't got the power together. What are they actually doing? They've got heaps of not only federal but also state funding as well. 1,000. Okay, so if they're running on generators at the moment to make sure they've got power for fridges, food, cooking, whatnot, $1,000 is bugger all. I don't know many houses that have a generator. So having an extra $1,000, first of all, a generator to get one is probably you're looking at $2,000, possibly more. You can get really cheap, nasty ones, but they're cheap and nasty and probably won't survive. Then just the fuel use alone on top of that is massive, and then you still got to pay your rates, your water, or your power on top of everything else as well. $1,000, that's shit. That's nothing. Come on, get your act together. Funding available for around 280 customers to help pay for generator fuel. What about the generator? Generator hire costs if you're not buying one. 35 additional standalone power stations for customers in Midwest and Wheatbelt. What I would have liked to have seen is when the power grid went down for certain towns and stuff like that, just you can get 5 kVA generators, like they're big. Coates Hire have them. They can run anywhere up to 10 houses. Obviously not crazy use, but they can still do it. Go chuck a couple of these massive power generators down, get it flying a couple of electricians, wire up the houses safely, make sure they're all good, do a quick check of the house, make sure there's no safety issues in them. Because obviously when the cyclone went through, there could be exposed power lines and stuff like that. And then have the government responsible for maintaining the fuel levels of these generators. Would have been a perfect solution to get all the houses done, and to prevent feedback into the power grid. You just pulled the fuse out of the fuse box. You would have been good. But no, that's a sensible solution, but no. Okay, the McGowan government announced an additional $280,000 in funding for customers through the Midwest and Wheatbelt impacted by the damage to Western Power's network following Cyclone Seroja. Cyclone Seroja has presented an unprecedented challenge for Western Power, with the affected area larger than Tasmania. Okay, so, oh God, Northern WA, Queensland are constantly getting smashed by cyclones. How can you say this is an unprecedented challenge? That's just not true. They knew this cyclone was coming. They knew the damage was coming. They should have taken proactive steps immediately to get this sorted, and Western Power, again, has just failed. For you to try and say that the Western Power, this is unprecedented, Bill Johnson, you're a scammer, mate. You're full of crap. Despite Western Power's rapid response, residents and small business owners in the Midwest and Wheatbelt have purchased their own generator fuel, and others have had to travel large distances for hot showers. See, this is not acceptable under any circumstances. For Christ's sakes, we're Australia, We're one of the wealthiest countries in the world. We've also probably got one of the largest debts in the world. I find this disgusting. This was a massive failure it wasn't Bill Johnson for this one. This was Reece Whitby. This was his first chance to deal with a genuine state of emergency, and he failed. He failed miserably. These costs have been covered by insurers and disaster relief funds, as the outage is not due to damage to their own property. Whoever your insurance company is, if they're not setting you up after a cyclone for emergency accommodation, emergency, all that sort of stuff, I'm trying to remember the word of it. I haven't worked in insurance for a long time. So if your house is not livable after a major event, such as a cyclone, you're supposed to get emergency accommodation with your home insurance policies. If your insurance company is doing this, your insurance company needs to be shot. The government should be immediately demanding an inquiry into the insurance company as to why they are not covering this. This is a cyclone. You are covered for cyclone damage. It's actually in your policy documents. If they're doing this, the government needs to step in and say, right, if you are not going to cover this, you are not allowed to insure in Australia. The federal government needs to be proactive on this, and they need to be kicking these guys' ass. We pay huge premiums to be covered in the times that we need it. And if this is what's happening between the insurance company and the state government, mate, just don't insure yourself. Sorry, I'm really dark on RAC. We had a fire at one of our units, and they're saying because we were dealing with our daughter's burnout time. They reckon because we didn't make the claim within 60 days, they cancelled our policies. I'm still fighting it. I'll let you know how you go, but I'm not expecting much. To help with these costs, Western Power will administer $1,000 payments from July to eligible customers who are awaiting network repairs as at May 24th, 2021. So this isn't for the people. Like, this is not for customers. This is to Western Power. The state government is giving Western Power $280,000 to do their job. Effectively, they're bailing out the insurance companies by $280,000. So it's not the people who are out without power that's getting this. It's Western Power. This is disgusting. I'm sorry, I'm really dark on this, Bill. Bill, you've screwed up. In addition, Western Power will install 35 standalone power systems, which should have been done like 8 weeks ago, which will supply power to residents and businesses impacted by Cyclone Seroja. So why has it taken 8 weeks for Western Power to say, yeah, we're going to do this? Standalone power systems units combine solar and battery technology and sometimes a backup generator, well, all the time, and are an economic alternative to replacing poles and wires. No, I get that, whatever. It would be easy just to go put the generators out there until you can fix the wires. Western Power has contacted customers whose properties are eligible for a standalone power system. Generators and fuel have been provided to those customers until their SPS units are installed. So the money for this isn't going to the people at all. This is purely, all this money is going to Western Power. The SPS rollout supports WA manufacturing. No, it doesn't. With Hybrid Systems Australia delivering 25 of the additional units and Bay WRE Solar Systems delivering 10 of the units. I'd really love to know anyone who actually gets one of these things. Let us know how they go, because I just can't see them generating enough constant power to do the job properly. Like, a little bit of power is better than nothing, but yeah. Hybrid System recently launched a 16,000 square metre renewable energy manufacturing facility in Perth, understood to be the largest in the world, dedicated to the design and the construction of SPS. The announcement follows the McGowan government's additional Cyclone Seroja relief package, including waiving reconnection fees. Well, you shouldn't be getting a reconnection fee because it wasn't disconnected in the first place. Doubling Western Power's extended outage payment up to $260. Well, that is going to get a lot of food for the people who lost all their food in the things. And providing $4,000 in funding for individuals whose homes have been severely damaged or destroyed, and businesses who suffered financial hardship. So I don't mind that $4,000 to people who have, like, for businesses who have suffered financial hardship. But your insurance company should be paying for all of this. If your insurance company is not, cancel with them. Do not be with that insurance company. That is the best way to hurt insurance companies. To give you an example, in the early 2000s, like 2005 to 2010, SGO, out of every dollar they received in a premium, used to pay out 98 cents. So it was really important for them to find fraudulent claims because they had it was the best in the state of paying claims per premium taken. So they would invest the rest of that 2 cents out of every dollar in premiums they took to be able to pay for all these claims. So by cancelling your policies with insurance companies, that's a real big kick in the wares. So if they're not doing the right thing by you, do not give them your money. Do absolutely everything you can to make these guys stand up, listen, and say, right, we need to do the right thing to keep our customers. And if your insurance companies are not supporting you in this, if you've got extended power outages, if you've got damage to your home and they're not covering you for all this sort of stuff, you need to be asking questions. You need to be contacting the Ombudsman. Since 2016, 58 SPS have been installed with increasingly positive feedback from customers in the Great Southern and Midwest regions. So why is it only the Great Southern and Midwest regions? Why isn't it up around the Derby, Kimberley area, stuff like that? In addition, and separate to post-cyclone approved SPS, 98 units will be installed across regional WA over the next 12 to 18 months. More information go there. This just sounds like a really big ad for the SPS units. Okay, comments from Bill Johnson. The McGowan government has acted quickly to ensure no one is left out. They have not acted quickly. What a crock of shit. The McGowan government has acted quickly to ensure no one is left out when it comes to assistance in the Cyclone Seroja recovery. Acting quickly, 8 weeks to get your fingers out of your ass. The extra 35 standalone power systems will be located in Lathalam, Una, and Nangeti, and will be a welcome solution for regional customers who are often impacted by weather events. Fair enough. A great example of the technology resilience is that 6 SPS customers in the Molawa region retained power during the destructive cyclone on April 11th. The McGowan government fully supports Western Power Clean Green Energy Initiative to ensure secure and reliable energy supply in the regions. So this is a press release from Bill. But we also got comments from the MLA and the agricultural person. So we just happened to get a few extra Labor people in here. So this is a massive sales pitch. Sorry, but this isn't the press release. This is a sales pitch. Okay, so Lara Dalton, Geraldton MLA. I want to thank Minister Johnson for listening to the concerns I have raised about the extra living costs some members of our Midwest community have to meet as they cope with the aftermath of Cyclone Seroja. Their patience and fortitude in this is to be commended as they wait to be reconnected to the network. I am sure this $1,000 payment by the McGowan government in recognition of their circumstances will be appreciated. Again, it's not going to the customer, it's going to Western Power. So it's funny. So up here, they're saying that it was a... where is it? Acted quickly to ensure no one is left out when it comes to assistance for Cyclone Seroja recovery. Their patience and fortitude is to be commended. So straight away they're contradicting each other. These payments will provide relief to some of the agricultural communities who have been impacted by Tropical Cyclone Seroja from a distance. I would like to thank the Western Power crew who have been doing an excellent job rebuilding the network, including standalone power systems as part of the work. So that's Sandra Carr, MLC for the agricultural region. Bill, mate. Save the infomercial for 2 a.m. This should not have been a press release. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. From about here somewhere. Yeah, so all of this here is just a massive infomercial. Bit of free advertising for Bill and these companies. AWA and Hybrid Systems Australia. I would love to know, did they donate any money to the Labor Party for the last state election? I might give them a call. I'll give them a call. I'll call them and find out if they actually tell me anything. I highly doubt they will, but, it's worth a shot. Anyway, so that is the last one for today. I have to say I'm kind of disappointed with Labor Party at the moment. Their press releases were terrible. What they're trying to push is terrible. Bill, you've just failed. I'm sorry. You were doing really, really, really well until you started claiming that the $1,000 was for the residents without power, but in fact you're giving the money to Western Power. They'll probably take their cut and add a crap load on top, saying, these SPS things were actually $1,200 and not $7,000, and they're done taking a bit more money, so that's just going to increase the Western Power's bottom line. That's really left a bad taste in my mouth, Bill. I think you failed. I wasn't going to give you a 4 for that one, but after the infomercial came in, 1. You're lucky with the 1. Don did pretty good. Alana Matian wasn't a too bad one. Rita Safiotti and Simone McGurk, you failed. Yeah, Labor, they're doing some things okay, but a vast majority of the things they're doing is a fail. Now, let's have a look at the Liberal and Nationals as a counter. I've been doing this for quite a while now. I think all up, I might have seen 5 to 10 press releases from the Liberal Party or the opposition. There's just nothing there. Even though the Nationals have now taken over the position of opposition, and I had a lot of hope for Shane Love and Mia Davies, I thought they could be an actual genuine opposition. I don't know if this is something that the Parliament House is not releasing their press releases or not, but they're just MIA. I'm not seeing anything on the news about them. There's no press releases on it. I follow all of their pages on social media. There's a few little fluffy things that they put out, but nothing of substance. Again, I was very critical of the Liberal Party at the last state election for just being MIA. Nationals are doing exactly the same thing. There's just no coverage from them, no response, no backbone, no fight. And now is really, really important time that we need an opposition. So what do we do? What do we do? There's just no representation to the other side of politics. So I'm a little bit disappointed in the so-called opposition. So anyway, it has been fun. It is now 2:27. This was actually a really long one. So this is Travis Carter for Carter's Corner Daily. It is, I think it's Thursday today. It is Thursday, the 3rd of June. I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you do have any questions, make sure you reach out to us. Facebook, YouTube, and I've got the Patreon, patreon.com/Carter's Corner, if you want to help and make sure the channel stays up and running. So thank you very much for your time today and have a wonderful Thursday.